Hi, it's Joy Foster, founder of TechPixies and the host of the Sparkle and Thrive podcast. And we're doing a series on podcasts and books and launching books. And I've brought in different experts to talk about that. And there's an underlying theme here, which is how do you launch a product online? So we're going to also talk about that. But today I have a book coach with me, someone who believes that everyone who has a business should also have a book, has been encouraging me for years to get this other book finished and published and out into the world. I have written two previously that never actually made it to an ISBN number or onto a bookshelf. They so this third one is going to really make it out there, right? And we're going to get it out there.
It's going to. It's coming out there. I can see it. It's not going to sit in the bottom drawer.
It's not, or on a USB drive or on a Google Drive, wherever the 15 previous copies that I've tried to write have been sitting. But no, seriously, in all seriousness, Ann Sheybani is one of my favorite people in the entire world. And I was really grateful that you said yes to this podcast. So, Ann, book coach, welcome to the Sparkle and Thrive podcast. Tell us why every business needs a book.
So why does every business need a book? That's a great question. One of the first things that you learn once you enter the business world, or one of the first things you notice, is that there's a lot of competition. And even if you niche down, one of the first admonitions that any business coach is going to tell you when you start a business is niche down. Find a narrow market that, number one, needs your services, recognizes they need your service, that they are actively looking for your services, and that they have the money to pay for your services. There's like three really important segments of the niche. And in the beginning, we'll get it wrong. We see the people who desperately need us, and, they can't afford our services. So, there we are. So when you recognize that there are a lot of people in your business, in your niche, the first thing that's going to occur is, how do you differentiate yourself from the rest of the people in your business? Well, you differentiate yourself often in a book. And the things that you are demonstrating to your readers or your potential clients or customers in a book is that you have the solution to a very particular problem that they are actively seeking a solution for, that you have some sort of framework of working them to the outcome that they're after, that you can describe what their problem is in very real terms, in very visceral terms, where they're like, oh my God, that's me. How does she know that's actually me? And that you can describe the outcome, what happens when they solve this problem. You can describe this outcome in compelling terms. It makes them go, oh yes, I absolutely want that. The other thing that you're demonstrating in the pages of your book is who you are. Like, why do you care so much about fixing this particular problem? What in your background made you want to, become good at fixing this problem? So what in your personal background, came up where you wanted to fix this problem? And then you also want to demonstrate, to the ability that you can, to the capacity that you can, that you've helped other people solve the problem. So we share our personal stories, in just the right amount. We share the stories of our clients, what the problem looked like for them, and how they turned out once they solved the particular problem. So if you demonstrate who you are, if you demonstrate that you're able to help other people solve a particular problem, if you're speaking in a language and sharing stories that resonate with your target audience, then you differentiate yourself from other people in your industry. And hands down, after they've spent 6 hours or 8 hours with you, they can't imagine working with anybody else, because they know who you are. They know how you think. They know, your energy signature. They know your bent, and they want to work with you. So, does a plumber need a book? plumber might need a how-to book. A plumber might need something small that they can leave with their clients, about the five things you can fix in your own home and when you need to bring a professional in. And that's something that differentiates you from other people in the industry, all the other plumbers in the industry. Because number one, it's fun, it's an easy guide. Someone will share it with friends. You drop two off the house when you work at somebody's home and they share it with somebody else. It becomes useful and it's got your name on it, your contact information. I'll call those business card books. And we don't need as many personal stories, but we do need something fun. We do need something useful. We do need, this is when you're going to call me. This is when you don't have to call me. I could go on and on and on.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. So you need a book. And also I think one of the things I've recognized in the UK, I mean, we've got a UK audience. You've lived over on this side of the pond. I mean, you're back in America now, but you lived in Ireland. Did you live in the Republic of Ireland or Northern Ireland?
I lived in the Republic of Ireland for 10 years and I loved it. Totally different culture.
Yeah.
Totally
Yeah.
different culture.
Well, and I think that was my point. Like in the UK, what I've noticed is it's different, right? The culture is different. The way they do things is done differently. But one thing I've noticed is if you want to get on stages in the UK, like if you want to be invited to be on a panel, invited to speak, actually, it's almost like a requirement is a book. So, to me, I think, I don't know if that's the case in the US, but I certainly think here that's a requirement. I mean, I maybe feels like in the US, you might get a stage spot or you might get publicity if you've got a piece of content that goes viral on social media without having a book. But then I think actually if you have a piece of content that goes viral on social media, you better wish you had a book because that's the opportunity to sell the book or get the book out there. So,
I mean, that's super, it's super important to kind of tease this out. So when I first started speaking on stage, I would speak locally. I would go to women's networking groups that had business women and I would, get up on stage and I would, give a talk and I would get clients that way. It was great. And as you progress up the speaking scale, as you move from free or an honorarium of $100 or $500, as you progress and if this is something that you want to pursue, a lot of people want to pursue speaking on stage and they recognize it's a great income source or it's a good arm of their business. When you get to higher paying speaking gigs, they want to see that you have a book for a couple of reasons. It gives you credibility. It gives them credibility. They see the reason to pay you the higher fee. It's something that you can sell in the back of the room, a book, or it's something that you can include in the packaging deal of going out and speaking. Sometimes companies have the budget for a speaker, but they have a separate budget for books and other promotional types of materials. And you can make more money because you can say, hey, by the way, thanks. I know this is the budget for speaking, but you probably have a budget for books as well. And suddenly you've got an additional $5,000 tacked onto your speaking fee that you didn't have before. Podcasts. One of the hardest things for a podcast host who doesn't know you is to come up with questions to ask you. Questions and to understand how you think and how they might enter into the conversation with you. Well, if they have a book, all of the questions that they want to ask, all of the speaking points that they would like you to make are right in the book. So they're not just seeking, like Googling, what am I going to ask this person? Like what's their claim to fame? It's like, oh, here's their book.
That's so true, and it's we're releasing a couple podcasts that'll come after this one where we're talking to two authors who've written books, and actually because I had in one case I'd actually read the book all the way through, we could go really deep on the book, and I could ask the questions that came up when I was reading the book about the characters. So I think and the characters were real. It was a nonfiction book, but I do think that you're right. I hadn't really thought about that in the sense that it's a talking point and actually can get you into could get you onto a podcast. If someone reads the book and says, that's what happened to me. I read this book called Wave Walker by Suzanne Haywood. I don't know if you've read it. It's in the top 10 over here. It's incredible. You would love it. It's a great story. And I got through the book. I was like halfway through the book, and I was like, and I said to my husband, you've got to listen to this book. And so we were listening to it on Audible in the car on the way back from holiday. And then I messaged Catherine, who does all the backs, all behind the stages stuff. And I said, I really want to get her on the podcast. And I was really surprised. Catherine sent her off an email and said, Joy's read your book. She loves your book. She would love to interview you on the podcast. And she was like, yes. And I literally, I was just like, this is amazing. So there's a really great point that you just made about if you're entering into this podcast book world, which really these are the assets. These are business assets that people are building up as they build their business. It's not just about having a product, a service, a website. It's actually building other pieces of authority, which the podcast and a book do in both of those cases.
Yeah. And one of the other things that writing a book does is it makes it easier for you to be a guest on a podcast. Because if you've written a book, you're already established a series of stories that you can share with very particular points. You've got talking points, and you're not just entering into the conversation going, oh my God, like, I don't know what I'm going to say when I'm just going to start rambling.
But you're right. I thought she was so eloquent. Every question I asked her, she had her stories down. She knew her stories. She brought the book to life. And I thought she was one of the most prepared podcast guests that I'd ever had. So, I think a lot of people listening to this podcast they've already gone through our social media management certification program, and they've completed it, and they're looking for, what are the things I can do to grow my business? Well, if you don't have a podcast, you can launch a podcast. If you don't have a book, you can write a book. Now, your husband did something really interesting. Didn't he take his podcast and turn it into a book, or was it vice versa? I can't remember. Or his blog and turned it into a book.
We'd gone and seen a movie. It was Julia. Like that dates us how far back that was, right?
I do love that movie.
Yeah, it was a great movie. And he came back and he's like, oh, I love that movie. Like he's such a chick in so many ways. And he started a blog, and he wrote consistently, for over a course of a year. And he was writing about the stuff that he was interested in. He was writing, about adventure, and about, he was, going to be a priest at one time. So he was writing about philosophy and religion and spirituality. And he just was writing about whatever he felt like writing about. And probably about a year and a half in, he recognized a couple of things. Number one, people were responding. They liked what he was writing about. And he had maybe 7 topics that he consistently wrote about. And he got it in his head like, oh, this could be a book. So I was, I came from traditional writing background. I'd gone to grad school and got my, MFA, my master's in fine arts. And I was going to the workshops, and I was, running a writing retreat and local writing workshop, teaching craft. So I was a writer in the family. And I knew all about traditional publishing, and, which is, the background for starting up my own publishing house. And he gets it in his head that he's going to write a book, and then he's, like, well, who's going to publish it? He knows nothing about the publishing industry. And he ends up, asking a friend of his in business. You have business friends, you have a business circle. Everybody knows, oh, try this person, check this out. They're great resources. And his, business friend pointed him to another hybrid house way back when. I don't even know if they're still in business. And they put it together for him. They worked with him, and they had a book. And that book, which he was proud of and he was out, talking about, it started getting him speaking gigs. We were up in New Hampshire on vacation. We've got a home in New Hampshire right now. And he decides he's going to go to a bookstore and like sell his book. He's super ambitious. And we were talking about it at a restaurant, like, we're going to go to this bookstore. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. And some woman is behind us, overhearing our conversation, and we're having dessert, and she comes up to the table and she goes, "Are you an author?" And he goes,
Yes, I am.
"Well, yes, I am." And the guy gets a speaking gig at this woman's school. She's like a headmaster at some school. Doesn't even know what the book's about. Doesn't know what the book is about, and he gets a speaking gig at her school. And it takes off from there. So instant credibility,
Yeah.
instant opportunity. And when people are, like when people are checking you out among the other people that they can hire, they're like you said, we're looking for signs of credibility. Do you have a website that looks not templatey or, thrown together? Yeah, we all start out thrown together, right? Like none of us escapes that. Do you have, do you have a LinkedIn profile that looks good? Do you have a social media following? Do you have a book? They're Googling you. Top things that they're seeing is, do they have a book? Have they been on podcasts? Do they have a podcast? What's their following? People are trying to establish your credibility, and these are indicia of credibility. And more often than not, they're not digging all that deep because they're busy. They're, just trying to tick the boxes. And then for those who really, if you're selling higher end services, if you will work very intimately, particular for high levels of income, you got to have substance. It's they're looking, they're opening it, they're reading it, and there has to be substance. So yeah, business card book's great, but the higher cost of your services, the higher investment required of people to work with you, the better it's got to be.
Yeah, no, fair point. Okay. So, but I like the example of how he took his blog and he turned that into a book. And I think you could, one of the things that we've done with our podcast is we've really got 4 themes, and those themes are the same over and over again. We talk about financial independence for women. We talk about the benefit of life coaching and neuro coaching, changing the way you think to change your life. And we talk about social media occasionally, very occasionally, but we still talk about it because it's what we teach. Social media is important. And, we also talk about the women's issues, menopause and losing a child and all those things that women have to deal with just by the very nature of being a woman. And so I think in doing those 4 themes over and over again, and really establishing those 4 themes, that's become the 4 pillars of our business. And we now have a life coaching element, we have a social media coaching element, and we have a business coaching element, and they all sort of feed into each other and work off of each other. So I can also see where stories would relate to each of those, and I could pull those out to put together a book if I wanted to. So also that concept of, if you've got a podcast, if you've got a blog, if you're doing regular social media content, there are themes that you're probably circling around that are the foundations of your book. And those themes also, I think the other thing it does is it prepares someone to work with you. Like there's a base level of understanding that if they are going to work with you, you guys are starting on the same, you've got a very solid foundation of, this is my philosophy. And actually one of the things a book can do is help you decide whether or not you want to buy into that person's philosophy. I read a book once. It was coming out to a mastermind that we were in together. And it was such a bad book. And I remember thinking, I never want to work with this person. So I guess on the other hand, it's something that, I can't remember what the book was.
It was probably a good book then, because you probably were not the target audience.
That's interesting.
The energy was off. The philosophy was off. So you want a book that's also going to repel those people who aren't good fits for you, because that's part of the process of growing in your business, is recognizing who's a fit and who isn't.
Okay, I just literally Googled it so I could get the name of it, but you'll know the name of this book. It's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't stand it.
It's a bro book.
It's a bro book. Totally.
Yeah, it's a bro book.
But
It's a book that, and the energy and the background and the philosophy, you don't resonate with it.
no, but it
That's
was
a
but
lot.
that's interesting because the book, it's the job is to bring people to you that are the right type of people and repel people away from you that are the wrong type of people. So he doesn't want a kind-hearted, compassionate woman who cares about female financial independence in his world.
You're not the target audience, and I think that sooner, like, that's part of the development of growing into your business. It is, like, when you first get started, it's like, I want everybody. Like, I need business. I'll take anybody. And then you get a few, let's call it, you get a few contracts, or you get a few people coming into your world. And, like, if you wake up in the morning and you're thinking, oh my God, I got to work with this
I
person.
used to base it on whether or not I rolled my eyes when an email came in.
Yeah, we all go through that. We all learn, like, this is I don't want this kind of person in my business because it's just bad juju for me. And it's great to have, like, I love having a bunch of referral sources of people who do what I do. Because if I run into someone that just makes my skin crawl, to be really blunt, I know who they're going to be great with. And I'll say, hey, you know what? Like, I want to serve people, right? You gotta work with Clem. You love Clem. And she wants people like this because that's her energy signature. Not everyone's gonna love us, Joy.
Oh, that's so true and so great when we understand and accept that, because actually, like, I don't wanna hang out with people who make my life difficult and challenging. I I did actually say, and I believe this, and I think I love Gay Hendricks as an author, and there's a part in one of his books where, and I haven't read, he's got a book that he's written about love, which I really wanna read now. I didn't realize he'd written a book about, I mean, he's written like 30 books, so it's, hard to keep track,
Yeah,
but
we're going through the big leap.
yeah, The Big Leap. Well, The Big Leap is the book where he says, "I had to get to a point where I had to believe that it was possible to have a peaceful relationship." Like, when and that I could have peaceful relationships ongoing every day for the rest of my life. Like, that's actually possible. Like, it's a real thing. You can create an environment with that. And I thought, well, that's what I want. I want to have peaceful relationships
You
with,
want that outcome. You want
yeah,
that outcome because you know right away, right in the introduction of the book, what the outcome of reading this book is. And when you see it, you're like, I want that.
yeah.
That's the book you're gonna read from cover to cover.
Yeah. And that's the point. The guy who wrote the other book totally repels me. Gay Hendricks, I could probably read all of his books and I'd still want to read more. So, okay. So let's say you get up the courage and the confidence you don't have the confidence, grab the courage. You get up the courage, you write the book, you launch the book. Well, no, you write the book. Now, you and I both know for a lot of people, they don't make a career off of selling a book. Some people do, but most people don't. And what the book does is help. It's a part of the sales process, right? In a business book sense.
Yeah.
So, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't have a launch strategy. And actually, you and I both have done a program called Product Launch Formula. We both believe in that formula. We've used that formula in our own business. I have used that formula in my business since September of 2019, which is when I did I'd been running TechPixies from 2015 to 2019, with like no direction or guidance or coaching whatsoever. And then in January 2019, I did the Digital Course Academy. And that was super helpful for me to like learn how to build a course online. And so then I did that, but then I was launching with webinars, which is Amy's method of launching. And although it was working, I thought there was probably a better way to launch besides webinars, because you only get one opportunity to sort of pitch to someone and connect with someone. And so that's when I found out about Product Launch Formula. I found out about it through Stu McLaren. So like a lot of times you'll find out about a course through someone else where you've done a course with one person and they'll recommend doing a course with another person. Stu McLaren also told me about Amy Porterfield. So I have a lot to thank Stu for, because he introduced me to various different people that changed my life. And TechPixies does the same thing. So we have affiliate partnerships with Product Launch Formula. We have which is Jeff Walker's program. We have affiliate partnerships with Digital Course Academy, which is Amy's program. And then when one of our students or one of our podcast listeners or one of our email subscribers buys a product from them, we give them a bonus where I give them extra support, so for Digital Course Academy, the extra support that I provide is I will actually map out your course with you, and I will actually map out your webinar with you. That's my gift, like a one-on-one, when we'll do those two things.
That's super valuable gift, Joe.
Yeah, I wish I had that bonus, and the other bonus that I give if someone signs up for Product Launch Formula is actually mapping out their challenge. And because the thing people don't realize, or not their challenge, but mapping out their launch. And we do a pre-brief and a post-brief. Those are two things Jeff's huge on, is the pre-brief and the post-brief. So I do the pre-brief and the post-brief for anyone who does Product Launch Formula with us. So we have two opportunities for people to sign up to those programs and get our bonuses. And other people in the industry have their own bonuses when they launch and do affiliate launches, etc. But you and I have both used Product Launch Formula for our own businesses, but you've also used it to launch your author's books. So Tell me about that process.
So one of the things that I discovered really early on, and I discovered it in my own business, I discovered it when I came out with my own book, is this belief that when you put it up in the market, when you got a book up on Amazon, or if you have a book on your website or a course on your website, that you are done and people are going to magically
write it and they'll read it.
They'll just magically go to Amazon and they're like, that's the book I want. Not understanding that, there's like 80,000 new books on Amazon every day coming in, right? It's just a needle in a haystack. And, the number of people I've spoken to is like, I've got a course, it's on my website. How's it selling? It's available all the time and it doesn't sell. So this comes as such a shock to all of us as we evolve in business, that the idea that, build it and they will come is a total fallacy. It doesn't happen. So we have to create an event. We have to create an event, like a one-time event, where you get you tell people, hey, I got something exciting coming out. I got a book coming out and I'm really, it's about this and I do this. And we get all excited with our messaging. Where are we messaging? We're messaging in our newsletters. We're messaging on social media. We're messaging, on whatever platform people have allowed us to join them on. And we begin to build interest in a very strategic way. And then there's the event. It's 1 week. You can buy this thing for 1 week. But before we do that, what we're doing, I'm getting ahead of myself thinking about the formula. We get people interested and then we teach them something in the first video. This is the opportunity. This is like what the book is about. This is, why I wrote this book. And here's something in the book that I want to teach you. And then there's another video where we're expounding on it. There's a formula for this stuff, right? There's these little, let's call them triggers. It's a word people would be kind of repelled by right now, but there are things that get people interested, that draw them in. We see why you're the person to be writing this book, how these ideas that you share in this book have helped other people. And then you've got another video where you're really kind of wrapping it up. And then you're allowing people into your world for about a week to buy your course or to buy your book. And there's this time limit. There's a bonus. Hey, if you buy in this time limit, there's a bonus. You get this thing and you get this bonus. And it builds on itself. There's this excitement. There's this, oh, I want this, and this is why I want it. Oh, other people want this, and I only have this much time to get the extra stuff that goes with this, and people will buy it. And when you deviate from the formula, and I think this is great to know for your audience, like Americans are considered very bold and very, like pushy, and we're really, really aggressive. And I've seen people make offers and they don't want to put the time element in. They don't want to say this offer goes away in a week because they're thinking, well, why would it? Like, that's crazy. Like you want to be, you don't want to be, we call it car salesman. But those events where the host has failed to do that, no one buys.
Yeah, right. When there's no deadline.
There's no deadline. And the number, so I think one of the things that I love about Jeff that I really took away from Jeff Walker and his whole program is that by creating an event, by creating these deadlines, by creating, by allowing people to feel that you've got the content, that you're the person, that other people value what you've got, that you can teach them the stuff that they want to know, that there's more, that there's a problem that opens it up to the larger problem that your product or book solves. It's in service, because the number of people, and Joy, you know this, the number of people who talk about doing things for ages, who will sit on the fence.
Why do you say I know this?
We all know this, right? You will sit on the fence. We will sit on the fence. I will sit on the fence. Your audience members will sit on the fence indefinitely. And they'll say they want it. But unless there's some gentle nudge, they'll sit on that fence and they will not do the thing.
Yeah.
They won't spend the 8 hours or the $20 or the, 15 pounds to buy the book. They won't do it because there's friction there, or it's change, or it's like, it's, what I don't have time, or I don't. So if you create an event and a sense of urgency, you are serving people, because the number of people who fall off that fence and write a book and publish a book and then go on to enjoy what it is they were after in the first place, they thank you for getting them off the fence, because that's human nature. We stay on the fence. So how do we do it with our energy signature so we're not Mark Manson and, that's not our audience? You do it with your energy. You do it with your stories. You do it with your belief system.
But I also think that one of the things that you just pointed out, which I hadn't, was a great sort of, it's like clicking the Lego pieces together. It's the idea that when you know how to launch something, it doesn't actually matter what product you're launching. So here you're talking about launching a book. Yeah. I've used the formula to launch a social media course, which is I've used. And so in fact, we just counted it up the other day. I've launched our social media management certification program 38 times. And I've used product launch formula for the majority of those, probably easily 30 of those times. And you just rinse and repeat, and you make it better, and you change the stories out, and you might change the teaching out, and you take the feedback from it. But the concept, the formula itself is pretty straightforward once you understand it. And once you get off the fence and get into the thick of it and get something going. But on that note, for some people on the launching side, there's two things. One, it's getting everything in place to get ready to launch something. I know last year when I was working with our mastermind, we have a mastermind at TechPixies, and really explaining to them all the things that you've got to do for a launch, the launch checklist, like that, going through the launch checklist and remembering all the pieces of a launch. I mean, that's why investing in something like Product Launch Formula makes sense, because he gives you the checklist. He hands you the checklist, and it's like, this is what you got to do. You got to do all of these things in this order. And he even gives you examples of how people do it. And before he sells the program, he gives you a taste of the program for free. And that's he runs through his own formula to sell you his formula. And I just love that. So you can experience what the formula is like. But at TechPixies, our formula is something like this. We have a social media superhero bootcamp, which I know we've done that as a bonus for one of your products, actually.
And I'll tell you that, like, the number of people who adored adored that bonus. Adored that bonus. So thank you. Yeah.
Oh, good. And we run that through the formula. So the first video is, it's this, here's the opportunity. If you if you learn how to leverage social media to your advantage, here's what's possible for you, right? So really showing the opportunity of financial independence, of, financial freedom, that ability that you can leave a marriage or not, that's not working for you, because you're not financially independent on that person anymore, or financially dependent on that person anymore, which is a real thing for our audience. Like, and it's not that I'm advocating divorce. I'd love for people to stay together forever, but as you know, it doesn't always work out, and you need to have you need to be able to go, and I say that because Ann's written about divorce. Like, that's one of your talking points, right? It's one of the things that she's written about. So, one of the things we do in the very first one is say, here's the opportunity for you. If you leverage social media, you can get a job, you can start a business. Like, you've got lots of opportunities here. And then in our second one, we really talk about the transformation, and we talk about what is it like to craft this vision for social media. And once you get clarity on that vision, what sort of steps do you need to take? So it's more of a teaching session, but it's really like, I'm going to give you clarity about social media you didn't have before. What networks to use, how does it work, how do we leverage podcasts and video and blogs and all that stuff. So that's the transformation of, okay, now I'm aware that I can have the opportunity to change my life with social media. Here's how I actually do it. It's like the how video. How do I transform my life using social media? And then the third video is about the ownership. Like, really, now I understand how this works. I'm going to take it to the next level, and I can turn my social media following into clients. And so in the third session, we talk about the sales are in the mails. We talk about how to be a magnet, not a peacock. And so it's really this sort of opportunity, transformation, ownership. And then, of course, we say, if you've enjoyed the last 3 days, imagine what the next 18 weeks will be like if you join our program. And then we open up to the social media management certification program. And like you say, we have a start date and we have a close date. And it's usually around 7 to 8 days. And if someone decides not to join us, they've got to wait several months before they can join us again. And the doors are shut. And so, but all of that I learned from Jeff, and it expands the time period you have to connect with someone. And I find that formula, we do it over 4 days. We do 1 hour a day in his form. Everyone has to find their own way of doing it, but we do it over 4 days, 1 hour a day for 4 days. I have a VIP group where we do 2 extra sessions, so 6 hours. But I find that after 4 days of hanging out with someone every day, the know, like, and trust factor is built up, and they go, this person shows up, they teach, they serve, they respond, they engage, I'm in, and
Yeah.
people join that way. Whereas if I do a webinar and no one's ever heard of me at all, and like they've never got they don't have a relationship with me, the conversion rates are much lower on a single standalone webinar than they are off of this formula of, I'm going to meet with this person on a regular basis over a period of time, and then I'm going to make an offer.
Yeah. I would say following that initial formula, there's so many variations that Jeff teaches too that fit, somebody's target market or their business model even better. But I think all things begin with that recipe. And if you follow that recipe, you learn everything you need to know to be a successful business person, to speak on point, to be really clear who your target market is, to understand the outcome that you're selling, and how you help, why certain people are right for it and why other people are wrong for it. Like, because you have to go through this checklist because you have to speak to this, you have to make these decisions. You have to think about it. And if you think about it and you click those Lego bricks in place, you can, practice it, and we all have to practice it. We all have to write first drafts of a book that are not great, and that gives us the ability to write a
Well,
second.
you actually call that your shitty first draft.
I know, I'm trying to be like I'm trying to not
If you read Anne's book, it's got a lot of explicits in
I'm a
there.
sailor. I have a sailor mouth, and I try to not show up in public.
Although I have to say, I love that line because I think it's important for people to know, they're going to have a shitty first launch. They're going to have a shitty first draft. They're going to have
It's
a
gonna be
shitty first social media post. I mean,
yes,
it's just going to be poo the first time.
it's gonna be poo, like, I look back at I think I've been, writing newsletters and writing blogs for 15 years, and I'll go back and I'll look at stuff I wrote, and the expression that if you're not embarrassed by who you were last year or 2 years before,
You've not
you're
evolved.
growing, you're not evolving. So it's like, yeah, I mean, the number of bad launches that turned into much better, that turned into I've got the right messaging, that I mean, you gotta pick away at it. You don't come out of the box.
I
General.
actually I saw something so cool today, which I'll have to explain it rather than show it because it'll be a bit tricky to show. But there was an ad or a post on Facebook. It was so good, and it was from someone who teaches launches. But what I thought was really interesting was I don't know how much people can see, but this is Taylor Swift's tour,
Yeah.
and if you look at her tour, she's not even a third of the way into her tour. Right?
Jeez.
So she's got like hundreds of concerts. She's not even a third of the way in the tour. And the point of the social media post, which I just totally took on board, was it's the same show. She's doing this. It's a launch. It's the same show. And not only that, but what she's doing, but is by every time someone goes to her show right now, and they're filming it, they're putting it on their social media. They're putting it into their stories. They're putting it into their reels. Everyone's promoting this event. So as the event gets to your town, I was like, oh my gosh, it hasn't even come to London yet. I can still go.
But you want to go. Like I look at that. I'm 60 and I want to go see Taylor Swift.
I want to go because I'll tell you, someone said in this post, she said people are going to this like they would follow a sports team. People are going from concert to concert. It's like, it's that good. But here's what she's doing. She is rinsing and repeating. It's the same show. She's making it better every single time. And what I love is what people are sharing is like whenever there's a blooper, like her uniform or her dress breaks, or she forgets a dance move, or she forgets a line, she just like rolls with it and keeps smiling, and that's what people are sharing. And so like that's the pre-launch to getting people to say yes to going to the event. And the event is one night only. It's on this one place only. And guess what, guys? It's getting sold out. People are flying to other cities to watch it. That's how big of a deal it is. I thought that was such a great example. So, no matter what you've got, whether you're a singer, whether you're an author, whether you're a coach, whether you're a social media manager, whether, whatever you are, there's a way to launch what you've got, but you do have to learn the system. It's a system you've got to learn. I've got a barking dog in the background. Apologies. All right. So fair to say product launch formula works for launching a book.
Yes, absolutely.
And fair to say you should have a book if you've got a business.
Absolutely.
And and fair to say that if they want to learn how to write a book for their business, they ought to go read your book. So can you tell us?
So I think so, but I come at it with a little bit of a prejudice because I like my own work as much as I do. So I wrote a book called How to Eat the Elephant, Build Your Book one bite at a time, I think. One bite size step at a time. That's it. Like it's been a while since I've looked at my own book. And the reason I wrote this book is that before you sit down and write a book, you kind of want to know all of the steps. You want to figure out what kind of book you want to write. You want to figure out what goes into a book, what genres, what types of books are more difficult to write and what are easier to write. You want to know how to write a story, because if you're a business person, again, Joy and I have been talking about our stories. What part of our lives do we share? What part of our businesses do we share? Right. So we learn how to write a story to speak to our audience, and then how to come off the back of the story and tell lessons, then how to structure a book, because you can structure a book so many different ways and all of a sudden it looks like a mishmash. But if you structure it the right way, your reader can follow along. And then, you write a first shitty draft. Then you're going to revise it. What does revision look like? How do you fix it? Then how do you publish? I actually think I would, if I were to rewrite that book, I'm thinking maybe I'll rewrite that book. I'd put the publishing part first. Do you want a traditional publishing deal? If so, you got to start with a book proposal, because you can go write that whole manuscript and then you think you want to have a traditional publishing deal, and you're not going to get a top publishing deal based on your manuscript. You got to go back and write a book proposal. Or do you want to self-publish? Well, what does that look like? What skills do you have to learn? What do you have to be aware of? Or do you want to go with a hybrid publishing press?
So yeah, helping someone make that decision first and then walking them through it.
Because a number of people, back when I first started helping people develop their content and book coaching, we'd get to the end and they'd have this book and they're like, now what am I going to do with it? And I ended up, developing my own hybrid press, because I was dropping them off at the curb. Like, if you want traditional, you actually need this and this and this, and you don't have it, but you can do a book proposal. And they'd argue, like, I've got this manuscript. Why would I have to write a book?
I wrote the book already. Why do I have to do that?
This was the biggest insult for them. And then it's like, I'm sorry, I should have probably told you before we started.
But that's actually the point, though. You learn by that's the thing I say to people. Like, they don't say, well, what am I going to post on social media? Well, just start posting on social media. You will find your voice. And it's the same sort of thing here. But that's a great point. So if someone's reading the book, maybe read that part first, decide what kind of book they want, and then go to the beginning.
Yeah. 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 But I think even just like, why do you want to write a book? Because the number of people that I sit across from who say, I want to write a book for my business, the longer I talk to them, the more I recognize that they want to tell their personal story and it has nothing to do with their business. And I'll say,
it's a different kind of book.
It's a different kind of book, and the idea is absolutely fabulous. And your reasoning behind it, own that, so you don't mess it up trying to make it fit where it doesn't fit. And, claim what you want and just.
That's a great point. Yeah. Because actually, I think that's true. And actually recognizing that a business book and a memoir are totally different projects.
Totally different. Totally different. Completely different. And the driving force behind it is different.
Yeah. And that's a great point, because when I interviewed Suzanne Haywood about Wave Walker, it's a memoir. But one of the questions I asked her, which I think it was the first time I realized what a memoir really does. And I mean, I'm a nonfiction reader. I only read nonfiction. Like, I'm not a very good fiction reader at all. Like, Covenant of Water is about the first fiction book I've read in a very long time. But, and I'm enjoying it, but I have to take breaks because it's so intense. But one of the things that I will say is, I asked her, I said, did writing this book help you to heal? Yes. And it's when the penny dropped for me that a memoir is actually it's a personal way of healing for some people. And if I was going to write a memoir, that would be my way of processing and healing, maybe the traumas that I've had in my life. And I could be wrong, but that was for me. And she said, yes, she's like, this book helped me heal. It helped me to really understand what happened to me and how I became who I became despite it. Do you know what I mean? Or how it helped me become who I became.
It's healing. The healing is a byproduct.
Yeah.
It's a byproduct because, being a publisher, the number of memoirs that come across my desk that are unprocessed grief or unprocessed rage, these, let's call them suffering stories, have to be refined and have to be shaped where they, there's a journey that the reader goes on with the author. But if it's not shaped, if the theme isn't chosen and curated throughout, if the structure of the book doesn't take the reader to a very specific journey, through a journey to a very specific place, if it's just random healing, therapeutic spewing, which is the beginning, it just means that's the beginning draft or
Yeah,
second.
so a good memoir, I mean, maybe we're talking about a good memoir.
Here,
There's a process that it's gone through.
has deep value for the reader.
Yes.
And the byproduct in that process of getting it to be beautiful and meaningful for the reader, the process is very healing for the author. But it's, like I always want to differentiate this, like therapeutic spewing is for shitty first draft, second draft. And it has to be so much more.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
love that, looking at the book as a gift. And you know what? Once you've written that book and it's a gift, you do want people to have it in their hands. And once you've written an online course and you want you want their lives to change. So you have a duty and a responsibility once you've built a course, once you've written a book, to get that out into the world. And the best way to do that is with a launch. So, for those of you who are listening, who are interested in going on that journey of product launch formula with TechPixies and getting those extra bonuses, the first step is just signing up and registering your interest. We're filming this on the 16th of August. It won't go out onto the podcast until after the product launch formula is opened up. However, if you want to get in on the program via TechPixies, we want you to do it through techpixies.com/PLF. So it's a free masterclass. It's a genius. It's a masterclass in masterclasses. And as Ann and I can both attest to, it's been massively beneficial to our businesses. So techpixies.com/PLF if you're interested in it. And I want to just thank you for your time, your inspiration. I get so much energy when I hang out with you, just beautiful, wonderful, vibrant energy. And I so needed it. So I'm very grateful to you for taking time out of your day to talk to our audience. And, I'll tell you, the TechPixies audience, it is a vibrant audience of women who have a lot to say. And they're now coming into that place where they've discovered their voice. They're willing to get onto social media to talk about it. And now they're thinking, what's next? And podcasting and writing a book are really the next two phases. And I'm right there with everybody. I have done the podcasting. We've done that, and I'm still doing that, and I've done it for 4 years. And now it's like, okay, I really need to step up and do a real book, as opposed to my like 2 PDF books that you can download.
It starts. Don't dismiss that.
But anyway, Anne, I am just, again, so grateful to you. So thank you very much for your time, your energy, your effort, your stories, just being a wonderful presence in this world.
I love being here with you. So Joy, you're my girl. You're my homegirl.
Talk to you later.
Talk to you later, my love.
All right. That was awesome. I love doing interviews on the TechPixies podcast. If you haven't noticed, I very rarely fly solo. And it's because I get so much pleasure out of actually talking to people and interviewing people and learning from people. And I've known Anne for a couple of years now. We've had some really great belly laughs together. So I know her quite well, and I always know what to expect with her. And I'm so grateful that she's supporting TechPixies in this opportunity to talk about stuff. Anyway, let me just say, if you are thinking about launching a product, if you are thinking about writing a book, you're going to need to launch that book. If you're thinking about writing an online course, you're going to need to launch that course. And there is a formula that works, and Anne knows it, I know it, and that's product launch formula. So if you want to go on that journey with TechPixies, if you want to have extra support where we handhold you through product launch formula, and we actually help you to craft your launch pre and post. We do a pre-mortem and a post-mortem of your launch. You're going to want to do that with TechPixies. Trust me when I say you're going to want to have someone who's been through it before. I have done product launch formula 30 times in my business. So I know it inside and out. It's one of my favorite courses that I've ever done. There's really only 3 courses that I promote at TechPixies every year. Product launch formula is one of them. So if you're interested in that, check out techpixies.com/PLF. And I would absolutely love to support you on that journey. And I always say this, don't compare your backstage to someone else's front stage. Just because someone else has written 30 amazing books in their industry should not dissuade you from writing one in yours, right? And so I hope you will consider writing a book and think about what you might write about. And I definitely have probably 4 books in me at least, one on business, one on social media, one on life coaching, and probably in there is a memoir as well. And of course, once you start researching memoirs, you realize that a good memoir is on one specific topic, like one specific relationship or one specific experience. So if you had multiple experiences or multiple relationships in your life, you also potentially have multiple memoirs to process those. So I'm talking to you as someone who knows I have not 1, not 2, not 3, maybe 4, maybe more books in me that I have not yet put out into the world. But I guarantee you, when I do write those books that actually get off of a PDF and into a real book, I will be using Product Launch Formula to launch them, and I will be working with Ann to do that. So I just wanted to share this podcast with you because as much as I am encouraging you to do it, I'm also challenging myself to do it. And that's part of why I love sharing this time with you. So if you are listening and you want some additional support with launching, techpixies.com/PLF. And I hope to see you on the other side. Have a great day. Thanks for listening.